Hey everyone, Josh, Wargaming Noob Historical, back with a review of Warlord Games Bolt Action Island Assault, the latest two-player starter for Bolt Action. I feel that this is a very strong starter for someone who's just getting into Bolt Action, and I'm going to tell you why. So just a quick overview of the contents included in this two-player starter. You're going to get a guide for Island Assault. This guide will instruct you on how to assemble your forces and gives you a learning scenario so that you can learn the mechanics of the game. You also get an A5 size rulebook, which is always fantastic. And the main thing about this A5 size rulebook, it is the full Bolt Action core rulebook. It doesn't exclude anything that you wouldn't get in the hardback version of the rulebook. You also get order dice for each of the nations in there, the U.S. Marine Corps and the Japanese, and that's 6 of them. You'll get 10 D6 die and a bunch of pin markers. Moving on to the forces, you'll get 24 U.S. Marines and a half-track. You'll get 24 Imperial Japanese Army and a Chiha. And for the terrain portion, you'll get a pillbox, 2 spider holes. Lastly, you'll get an HE and scatter template as well as tokens. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about Island Assault and why I feel that this is a strong option for new players to Bolt Action. So first off, there are a couple improvements that Island Assault has over the previous two-player starter, Band of Brothers. Let's talk about the forces that are included in this set. So it's evenly balanced. You get 24 U.S. Marines, 24 Imperial Japanese Army, and a vehicle each. The vehicle being the Chiha, medium tank for the Japanese, and then an M3A1 half-track for the U.S. Marines. So in comparison to Band of Brothers, the forces seem more well-balanced this time around. In Band of Brothers, you get 24 U.S. Airborne, and then for the German Panzer Grenadiers, you get 12 Panzer Grenadiers and then a half-track that they instruct you to make as a 25110 half-track. And the thing with the 25110 is that it's more of an anti-tank type of vehicle rather than anti-infantry, which would have helped the German portion of that starter be more effective against the U.S. Airborne. Because the forces are more well-balanced this time, you have 24 each of infantry. You don't have that 2-to-1 advantage that the U.S. Airborne had over the Panzer Grenadiers. And this would be more conducive to new players who are learning how to play the game. You're not going to have a player that is disadvantaged from the start. The vehicles themselves, the Chiha is not a great tank, but in terms of this particular box set, I think it's a pretty decent option. I think what they are instructing you to build from the kit is the standard Chiha, which is the howitzer, which is pretty effective against entrenched infantry. So any infantry that might be behind cover or in buildings, the standard Chiha would be pretty effective against. On the US side, the M3A1 half-track is kitted out with a 50 cal medium machine gun and 3 30 cal machine guns, and that is definitely a great anti-infantry option. So again, if you look at the forces and what are included in the box set, they can basically be effective against each other, whereas in Band of Brothers, the U.S. Airborne, who are veteran, are going to be very tough to kill by the German player, who will be fielding half the number of infantry in 2 different squads, and then a half-track that's not even kitted out to be effective against infantry. So off the bat, that's already an improvement over Band of Brothers with Island Assault. The other main difference between Island Assault and Band of Brothers is in the amount of order dice that are included for each faction. In the previous two-player starter, you get 5 each. And while it's good for that, it's good for the forces that are included in Band of Brothers, in expanding beyond Band of Brothers, you'd have to buy more order dice. So 5, unfortunately, is not enough to have a full-fledged game of bolt action. And this is where Island Assault actually improves on it a little bit. So for each faction, the Japanese and the Marines, you get 6 order dice. While 1 order dice doesn't seem all that different from having 5, expanding will be a little bit easier, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But having that extra order die definitely gives you the option of adding another unit into your fledgling Japanese and Marine army. So I'll swing back to the order dice thing in a little bit. I want to talk about another thing that I believe makes Island Assault a strong option for new players. Let's say I believe that Island Assault is what I call a twofer, and a twofer is something where you would buy 2 boxes of the same product. So Island Assault, being well balanced as it is, if you were to get a second box of Island Assault, you'd have a pretty strong core of both U.S. Marines and Imperial Japanese Army, 2 vehicles each. In fact, with the Chi-Ha, you can make 1 Chi-Ha with the howitzer, and then the Kai Shinhoto Chi-Ha, which is more of an anti-tank vehicle. And then obviously having 2 M3A1s, while redundant, it never hurts to have 2 vehicles on your site. So with that, you'll have 12 order dice per nation or per force in this, and that is actually a decent amount of dice to play more fully featured army in bolt action. That gives you enough to maybe get to 750 points to 1,000. It just depends on how you build your army. So whereas if you were to get 2 of Band of Brothers, there's 2 distinct disadvantages. One is that your U.S. Airborne side is going to be a fully featured infantry army, very tough to kill, whereas your German Panzer Grenadiers, they're already at a disadvantage because it's 2 to 1 with 1 box, and the Germans are more expensive, obviously, than the U.S., but they'll still be at that 2 to 1 disadvantage, and then also you only get 10 order die per faction if you do the twofer, which it sounds like it's enough, but having an extra 2 order die per faction really gives you options in list building and basically building up from the army that you will be building out of 1 or 2 Island Assault boxes. So that's another distinct advantage of Island Assault over Band of Brothers. The thing that I did like about Band of Brothers over Island Assault is the terrain portion that comes with the box. So I think it's fantastic that both Band of Brothers and Island Assault have a terrain feature, because if you're not a historical war gamer, or if you've never played World War II games and I've only played sci-fi or fantasy games, you're not going to have a lot of terrain. I feel that the terrain piece, the ruined farmhouse in Band of Brothers, is better than the pillbox and spider holes from Island Assault, only because the farmhouse is more of a centerpiece type terrain, and then obviously if you do a twofer, you'll have 2 ruined farmhouses, and that kind of is a good foundation for building your World War II terrain set. The pillbox and the 2 spider holes are very fluffy, especially for a Pacific campaign, but it would have been cool to have maybe 2 pillboxes rather than 1 pillbox and 2 spider holes, or maybe an island hut and a pillbox. But it is what it is. Nothing wrong with having the pillbox and the 2 spider holes. Just as a piece of terrain, they're quite small, and so you'll need to fill out your table, your battlefield more so than having a farmhouse or 2 ruined farmhouses on your table. So other than that, it's very in line with what kind of terrain you would need for Island Assault. Maybe if they had even included a couple stands of palm trees or ferns, it would be even more fluffy than just having the pillbox and the 2 spider holes. generals. But that's just some nitpicking. Overall, I think Island Assault is a superior two-player starter, especially for a new player entering into bolt action. You have two balanced forces, so you're not going to have a player who is at a disadvantage and might hinder the desire for that player to want to, play bolt action more. Whereas I think with Island Assault, it being balanced between the forces in terms of number of infantry and vehicles, it's going to give two new players a good indication of how bolt action works without punishing one player for being more expensive and having less force on the table as compared to their opponent. So those are my thoughts on it. What do you think? Do you think that Island Assault is a better two-player starter? Yeah, let me know your thoughts. If you like this video, go ahead and click like. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, I'd appreciate it if you do. Click the bell notification icon so you can get notified of all new videos coming out of the channel. And then click on the link in the description below to join our Discord server. That's the best way I can get to know you guys personally and chit-chat about bolt action and historical wargaming and just wargaming in general. So, all right, that's it. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more reviews coming out of Wargaming Noob Historical.